All right, a little bit of bonus footage on this. We'll have a longer video come up in the future, but wanted just to give you a little bit more detail about this tractor. Everybody thinks that the Ford tractor is a Ford tractor. Well, yes and no. They're pretty much all the same, except for the early 9Ns. They had a lot of differences in them. That's why they went to a 2N. There are so many changes from the first run to the last run of 9Ns. They were almost a completely different tractor. So this one's got the aluminum grill. They started with that right off the bat and ran it up until mid 40s. This has got grease zerks on the front of the knees. It's got the early style hubs. It doesn't have grease seals in the hubs. It's got the pinch bolt. It's got the wedge bolt instead of the pinch bolt style steering arm. It's got the H style beams, which ran longer than just this tractor. They ran for a little bit longer time frame before they went to the enclosed style. No provision for headlights. There was dealer add-on options, but from the factory there was no add-on, no factory lights on these tractors when they come from the factory. Also, this has got the starter switch up here on the dash instead of the safety interlock that's usually found here in the shift tower. It's got the red ignition on switch or light when you switch it on. It's got the 4-spoke steering wheel. It's got the snap-in battery cover, unlike all the more 2Ns and 9Ns, or later 9Ns and 8Ns that have the hinge cover. The only option that this tractor has, dealer add-on, is that it's got dealer add-on or aftermarket steps on it. So also, the brake pedal is the same for the left and right, and that was changed to where there were Pacific side to side. This has got 2 rib fenders with more rivets in them. They started taking rivets out and took 1 rib out on the newer tractors. This tractor here has got, I found a set of smooth axles. What this would have came with originally. It's got smooth axles instead of the riveted styles, which were stronger. They had problems with those, but it does have smooth axles in it now. That's what it originally would have came with. What here on the back? Pretty much everything here on the back is standard, except for we don't have 2 adjustable links. The early tractors had 1 solid link on that side. That was found on the early tractors. Up here is pretty much the same. Let's see what else. You see kind of this side of the dash. If I had to find a replacement, this piece here, this cover is aluminum. It was so wore out that you could turn the shifter sideways. So I had to find an aluminum one because because it was so wore out, the other one. Luckily I found a replacement. This here's got the original not the PTO, but the muffler guard and shield factory. It's got a reproduction factory 9N muffler, which is different than an 8N or a 2N muffler, and it sounds a little bit different, but that's all factory the way that's set up. This here we got the small generator. You can see how small it is compared to the bigger style generator that was found on later tractors to support headlights. This generator was just barely enough to keep the battery charged and the tractor running. There is no tension device. It just relies on the pinch bolt. So you got to keep this thing tensioned up for it to keep charging. That was one of the problems. They come out with a tensioner later on. Also, this has an oilless governor, which came standard on these tractors, but they had issues with those because it wasn't getting enough oil. So they took the drain line out of the oil filter and put it into the housing of the governor on those. So that's a rare piece.
No.
Yeah, that is all this vintage sheet metal on this.
But the air cleaner stack was later.
No, that was the add-on.
That was add-on.
Yeah, that was an option.
Also, I know this has this particular 9N gas tank in it.
Yep.
Because it doesn't have, because the later ones had room for the hinge that was here.
Yep.
And then the tank is offset.
Yep. Yep.
So that's another particular piece to this tractor, and it had this removable piece here. So this is totally different.
Yep.
And like you said, Kyle, they just kept making so many changes as they went on that they finally ended up having to call them a 2N because of all the changes they made to them.
Yeah, and there's some differences in the block. This engine here.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
This engine here doesn't have a frost plug or freeze plug, however you want to call it. The newer blocks have one right here. This one does not, and they considered that to be a 1939 only. Well, if you know anything about Henry Ford, he liked to use anything up. He didn't. He wasn't.
He never threw anything out. He just kept.
Yeah.
He put it on till it was gone.
Just like that doodle bug over there. That's actually a 1930, but it's got 29 sheet metal on it.
Yep, that's right. That's why they call it a 29.5.
Yeah, people argue with me all the time. Well, it's actually a 39.
29, yeah.
29 sheet metal, but it's on a 30 chassis, and Ford did that for the first run until they ran out of 29 bodies and put the modern 30 body on it. So Ford didn't like to throw anything away. He's very particular. Just like on the front, he had to have his name above Ferguson.
Yep, that would have been him.
Ford had to be on top. Ferguson. So there's a lot of little details on this.
This tractor's probably 98% correct.
I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of little things that it's not on this tractor originally that you just can't find anymore. But if I kept going, I would have had no hair left trying to find all the little pieces. So I was lucky to find smooth axles, the oilless governor. It did come with this. The guy took it off, tried to convert it to 12 volts. Luckily, we had the small generator. Those are extremely hard to find. And it had all the original sheet metal, but the sheet metal was in terrible shape. Somebody must have backed over a wagon and crinkled up that one fender. The hood was all crinkly and dented and rusted underneath the original paint. We sanded down to the original paint and sanded through the original paint on the hood, and there was rust underneath the original paint.
That was amazing.
That tells you how careful they were about painting tractors back at the time. This snap-in battery cover looked like it was run over by the tractor. The dog legs looked like they were push bars, but it was all original sheet metal. I had to replace one dog leg because it was so bad, but it took a lot of body work. It's not perfect. We're not body men, but it's close enough for us.
I can say it's a wonder this tractor was still around, because it was wore out. It was flat wore out.
There's more parts of other tractor.
This thing was
than the original.
This thing
tractor
was well used.
And the guy that we bought it from tried to get it running. It was running, and it had a stuck clutch in it, and somehow turning from a stuck clutch into rebuilding the bottom end, and then he couldn't get it running again. He had rod caps on backwards, had the timing off, cam timing off, wiped out brand new bearings that he put in there because stuff was not torqued and put in backwards. So we had to go through, we just went through pretty much everything. We didn't go through the engine and rear end, but that seems to be okay.
Well, we had everything apart for the transmission. Yeah. We didn't have everything completely apart. We had all the covers off the transmission rear end, the 3-point cover, the rear axle housings, That was about the only thing that was left untouched.
Yep.
Was actually gutting the transmission and the rear axle gearing. But all that was in good shape, and it sounds good and runs good. But other than that, this was a 5-year project, and there hasn't been much that hasn't been touched on this.
Yeah, and all these new aftermarket parts are not close enough anymore. So
yeah, we've had a little trouble with that.
Fighting getting it together, but we got it together, and it runs really good. We may set you up on the tripod and start it up.
Okay, it sounds good. Let's do that.
Well, that turned into that was supposed to be bonus footage, and then we talked about doing a longer video later on. But I mean, we talked a lot about that. We like talking about this tractor or anything we own, and especially this time, you know, this year, we haven't been out and talking to a lot of people about our stuff, which we normally would be doing. So I mean, that is probably going to turn into its own video.
Yeah, probably
so
will.
You know,
there's certainly a lot of changes that Ford made over the years on this tractor, and in the first couple of years they saw an enormous amount of changes. And you know, the earlier tractors, even this one built in January of 1940, there's quite a few changes on this from the first ones.
Yeah.
And then when you get up into March or April, we've seen tractors that are a lot different than this one, that were built, you know, 3, 4, or 5 months after. So there's an awful lot of changes that went on with this tractor. So
yeah, a lot of people don't know that about 9Ns.
Yeah.
They think a 9N is just an older 2N. Well, there's 2Ns here. There's difference in 2Ns, but not near as much as in the first year of the 9N.
Yes, you're right.
First year production of the 9N, there's so many changes, and then they quit. You know, and they kept changing them until it finally was about a different tractor. So,
and like you said, dealer add-ons,
yeah,
headlights, other generators, lots of stuff for dealer add-on, or that you could get. So, awful lot of changes went on this tractor. So we're fortunate to have an early 9N that has most all the original early pieces on it.
And we're lucky that I ended up picking up a little bit newer 9N, but it was for parts that had all the original parts. It was untouched tractor, but it was so sad that, I mean, it would have took more than what this tractor to get it restored. Somebody took the head off years ago because it was stuck and pushed the sleeves out, then left it, and then the barn fell down around it, and then it was left out underneath the canvas tarp, and that tarp rotted away. And
that was just sad on that tractor.
But it had a lot of options on that tractor, all the original stuff that ended up on this tractor. So that a lot of that tractor's living on in this tractor. So sometimes you got to sacrifice some to keep some of them go.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So we'll probably post this in a lot of its own video because we've talked so much about it. I was just going to give you a short snapshot of some of the details on it, and then it's turned into its own video. So we'll have some more videos on stuff and this tractor, you know, coming up here. But we're just excited to have it out of the shop.
Yes, exactly. We're excited to have it out of the shop. So good job.